Hey guys, Bro here, and today, I'm a lot late to this, but I just kind of wanted to make this video just because, like, why not? And then also to kind of give my own opinion on it. Again, I'm very late because the video in question is like a year ago. But basically, I watched, a few YouTubers who all do this, of course, which is they make they play Yu-Gi-Oh! And they make a deck that says, it's this kind of deck, and then you realize, wait a minute, that deck doesn't exactly seem like the deck that they said it would be. In which case, usually when that happens, like, I'm over here thinking, maybe it's just a, missed thing. However, the reason why I'm making this video is because it's usually down to, like, one person. So there's these three idiots, or that's what they're called, that's the group, I guess. But it's Crax, Dotto, and Rhyme, specifically that I'm talking about for this video. And what I mean is because, keep in mind, they all do it, but one of them does it a little more, in my opinion, than the others. And because, for example, Dotto Doya, he has some decks in there where I'm like, where he says it's, a blankety blank deck, and then you realize, wait a minute, but there's a lot of these other cards in there. Like, really? Like that Gandora deck? Are you sure? I'm looking at at a different kind of deck right now. And yet, and then Cyrax, like when he does like some of the older, supposedly classic decks. And then you're like, wait a minute, but that doesn't seem really classic. Which I obviously, I'm pretty sure if you look at them, you'll understand what I mean, especially if you've made classic decks before. But the main reason is because the third guy, Rhyme Style. A year ago, they had a Egyptian God duel. Basically, where you make an Egyptian God card deck, and then you battle out between each other. And, however, which people agreed, as you can see in the comments of that year ago video, that he literally just used the Dark Magician deck, but added a few added a singular God card. Singular. It wasn't like he added 3. He added 1 God card. And then added some sprinkled in some, God support, like, Metal Reflect Slime. And then called it a day. And when people got onto him about it, he was like, no, it's just a Dark Magician engine with, to help the God card get out. Which I don't think is correct because, bro, there's a difference between making a God deck and making Dark Magicians and adding a God card that's playable in there. Because he only had 1. Now, if he had like 3 copies, it'd be a little bit make more sense. But he only had 1 God card in there. 1, singular, meaning 1 obelisk. And if that obelisk gets outed, he was just going to play Dark Magician from that point on. Like, honestly, that's how you know it's not a God deck. Is because if you lose your God card, can you still get your God card back? Like, his Dark Magician, he had the traditional Dark Magician cards that could each get the Dark Magicians back. But he had 1 God card, and he had a Mound of the Bound Creator. But here's the thing, right? If his Mound of the Bound Creator got outed, it was over. Like, it was over. That was it. That he was done. Because there was honestly nothing he could do to bring it back, since it was just a basic Dark Magician deck that brings back Dark Magicians, not God cards. He didn't even have Divine Evolution in there to add more technical God cards in there. Well, you actually don't need that. And, Cyrax had Raw, so he had the easiest God deck, so he had no excuse but to make it a God deck, since Raw is literally the easiest for, making these. And, the funny thing is you can see, on screen here, that, Raw, okay, so keep in mind, Raw is the easiest, and honestly, I never thought I would win any duels with it because, meta decks exist now. But funny enough, I've only done 1 duel. Keep in mind, it was this duel right here, but it was in gold. I won a duel in gold rank in 5 turns, as you can see, and it was using the Time of Raw deck right here. Now, of course, again, I'm using raw, so it's a little bit, a little bit easier for me to say like, oh yeah, just make a like god deck. However, Obelisk and Slifer don't really get a pass. While Slifer gets less of a pass than Obelisk, because I understand since they have less, cards that basically support them, you have to have a few liberties, here and there. But I mean, you can still make a very good like Egyptian god deck using Obelisk. And just to show you, here's my time of raw deck just to prove it. I don't know why I have this. The reason why I had it is so that because the only fairies I have are this one right here. So to see if maybe I can use that to negate. I still haven't tested if it works that way because they technically can be tributed, but discarding and tributing might count as different things. So I don't know if that works. I'm yet to test it. So this could just be a dead card just for no reason. But as you can see, I do have Time Thieves in here. However, my Time Thieves don't even outnumber the amount of Raws that I have. As you can see, I have clearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Raws and only 4 Time Thieves. So, you don't want to have your extra the cards that aren't meant for the God card to outnumber the cards that you have for God cards. Now, again, like I said, this is obviously different because Raw has like a bunch of cards like this, because this is literally, I thought this was for every God card. Even though it kind of is, you get to target one like spell and you can like get Monster Reborn and all this other stuff. But like this really only this is mainly to help Raw. So yeah, I understand if you don't want to use it. And then this is a raw card. So I understand some of it, but like, and yes, I know I do have some crawlers. However, keep in mind that the amount of crawlers I have, like, there's not that many crawlers, and it's only for one link monster. It's not like I have a bunch of link monsters down here. It's literally a singular link monster. And if you count the number of non-technical god-related stuff, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have an equal amount to the of non-god related stuff to the god related stuff. Literally. Because if you take a look here, I have Raw's Disciple, which is 3 of them. Because this is like a must. Especially if you're making an Obelisk deck. If you don't, like, he didn't even have this in the deck. And this is a god card like if you don't have this in a god card deck, is it really counted as being a god card deck? Like, this is literally one of the most important cards for those decks. Well, not really. I'm pretty sure you can find alternatives, but like, if you're doing like the Joker straights and stuff, and to summon 3 cards in one turn as well. But like, you know what I mean? Like, this is one of those cards that you just gotta add just because like it's gotta be one of those cards to see. I even have one as like a little bit of a glossy kind of card. But and yeah, and same with Raw. I have a glossy Raw. But now, I know what you're thinking. What about Obelisk? Obelisk, if you, like, literally search it up, Obelisk, there we go. He has literally, like, it's just Raw Disciple and then him and then 1 card. He didn't even have Fist of Fate, which is a really good card. Granted, in Raw deck, you don't need a Mound of the Bound. Because, that's why you have Blaze Cannon, which is basically makes you unaffected. This card is Mound of the Bound, but a quick play, so that they can't just stop you by destroying it with, like, Mystical Space Typhoon or something. But for Obelisk, you would need Mound of the Bound, and Obelisk has a cool 3 combo, which is Mound of the Bound into double summon into a Raw's Disciple or Reactor Slime. Either choice, actually. You can do either or. But literally, either of these would be the combo. Because, and if you have Fist of Fate, you win the game. You win the game. If your opponent they can have a full field, and if they don't stop Mound of the Bound, they lose. And I know what you're thinking. Well, how would they lose? Well, if you search up Obelisk here, if we go back and search it up, you'll notice that Fist of Fate cannot be negated. Neither can the summon of Obelisk be negated. So once these 2 cards are happening, they're happening. And Fist of Fate, what not only does it negate one of your opponent's monster's effects, which means once Obelisk is on the field, it doesn't matter what your opponent has, it's being negated. So, and it's a quick play, so you can literally just have this on the field, and then the second that they, if they try to like respond to you in some way, just no. You get to flat out say no. Like, even if they have an effect monster that would usually make it to where their back row is safe, then you can just say no to it and destroy it if it's staying on the field. But look, you get to destroy all your opponent's spells and traps that they control. That basically means that on that turn, when you activate it, you nuke their field. You nuke their field. And you can keep in mind, you can still attack. You can still attack this turn. So that means Obelisk, after the spells and traps are gone, and the effect monster is negated, so they can't like stop you from punching them. You just punch them, and it's kind of GG's right there. Their monster is dead. Usually, most people don't have over 4K as a natural amount of attack without effects. So, yeah, and that's why I said mounted bound into double summon, because double summon allows you to do 2 summons. It means you could do a tribute summon. And then you could just use Raw's Disciple here, summon 3, or use Reactor Slime effect, summon 3, and you can still attack that turn. And it allows you to summon. You can only summon Divine Beast monsters, but that's where Raw or Obelisk would come in. Now, one of the cards I was because he had these 2, but the thing is, like, usually I don't really count these as separate, because when you have a Reactor Metal Reflect Slime, you usually will have Egyptian God Slime. Like, they're a combo. They come together. They're basically the same card. Because I have never seen a God card deck where it runs just these 3 and never runs Egyptian God Slime. Never in my life. And if you do that and your deck is good, I need you to tell me, and then also tell me why you're crazy. Like, that's crazy, because that's crazy. But, like, there's a lot of cards you can do that would just help Obelisk. Like, for example, running Jar of Greed so you can draw, except they were allowed to craft Pot of Greed, so running Pot of Greeds would also be kind of dope. And then running Graceful, like, that wouldn't be bad. To just run Jar of Greed, Pot of Greed, and Graceful in there, just as an extra draw power to, hurry up and get all the cards you need. And then I have Revival Gem, which is technically a God card type of card. Now, I know what you're thinking. No, it isn't. Why would that be counted as a God card type of card? It comes back if destroyed. That means it's safe. You can put it in defense. Yeah, you lose a few life points. As long as you're not doing a raw deck, lol, then not only can it be just a body, but it can also be used as a tribute whenever you get your Obelisk out. You see what I mean? And, like, he didn't even have that. Like, you don't have to have it, but it is a good card for Obelisk, because then you can just have a card that just stays on the field as long as and Obelisk doesn't require life points, so literally just having a card that comes back means that you're safe. You at least know that you always have 1 card on the field. Reactor Slime is just good too, because then you have 4 cards on the field now instead of 1, or instead of 2, and you can do a bunch of other stuff. And then, right, Swords of Revealing Light is a good stall card, because then you get to so you can summon these guys and get them on the field and all that good stuff, and boom. And then, like, this card is just good because you can tribute it it counts as 3 tributes for 1 summon. See, 1 or 3 tributes for the tribute summon of a monster. Like, that is dope for an Obelisk deck. So that's why the fact that he only ran 2 of these is crazy, when you should technically run 3 and 3. But I mean, I don't need to, because granted, yes, I have Metal Reflect 3 of them, but that's because for defense as well. And I only run 2 of them because I only need 2 of them to summon this, because I have this, which can technically get it, and other ways of summoning it. And the reason why I don't have 3 of them as well is because I basically have my own Kaiju as a raw card, which is this. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense to run 3 if you can just Kaiju a card and then use it for the 3rd one. That's why I only run 1, because this one is to specifically summon 1, while these 2 are to specifically summon the other 2. So, as you can see, there's a lot of cards. And he didn't even have Guardian Slime, which, yes, I know helps mainly Winged Dragon of Ra, but keep in mind, you can search a Ra's Disciple with the effect of this dying. But even with that, let's say you take that out of equation, it is a defensive monster that just protects you after you get hit. So instead of just dying, you literally get a hit, they hit you. If you're still alive, then basically you get to summon a monster that just can't be outed for one attack, no matter what. Unless it's like, something like the Wicked Avatar or something. Or if they have a equip spell that makes them get over like by plus 100, that's the only other way. And then he could have had these two. So basically, not only is it a wall, but then you can, if they die, you get Ra's Disciple, and now you got two bodies on the field that are just basically unkillable. You have an unkillable body as long as you pay some life points, and then you have a body that literally has to be attacked twice. So that's a bonus. And then Double Summon is a really good card because that allows you to tribute summon and summon 3 cards if you have these or these. Yeah, and like I said, then you would Fist of Fate and you just boom, there he goes. So, and the fact you only had one God card in there is proof that it's kind of just whatever other deck it is, plus maybe a singular God card sprinkled in there. Because if you don't run 3 of your God cards, that proves that you're not trying to get your God cards. You're trying to do something else. In fact, if you run 3 of anything, that means you want that more than anything. And as you can see, I want this card more than any other card because it summons 2 other cards, which lets me get Time Thief or Time Thief Double Barrel. And that's good because then I got a monster that can, kind of lower my opponents, stall them. Because Time Thief can basically just kind of slow them down, take their important cards, while I'm drawing my important cards. Because it's a draw. It literally helps you draw if you get a spell from your opponent or from giving it to yourself. So while I'm getting spell cards and drawing myself and stopping my opponent from making plays, I can get my raw and other stuff. And like I said, I do have crawlers, but they allow me to special summon, like flip. You can special summon 1 crawler from your hand. So if it survives using Swords of Revealing Light, I get 2 monsters. I get a free monster just by flipping it, and I can have a 3rd monster, and then double summon, boom, tribute all 3 crawlers, boom. Or if I can just want to flip summon, then now I have 2 guaranteed monsters for this crawler monster, which doesn't really do anything, but it just adds a monster on the field that's like, can be just used. It's just a good card. You see what I mean? So. But mainly it's for that effect of where I can get 3 monsters, boom. So I have 3 ways. So I have 1 way, 2 way, 3 way. I have 4. I have 4 different ways of getting multitudes of monsters out, so that I can either use raw, the spear mode, so they can't attack me while in my downtime, or getting Winged Dragon of Raw out immediately. See, this is like an engine because it basically summons the 3 cards I need every turn that I get it. Like, as long as I get one of these 4 different cards, I can summon my God card either that turn or next turn if I have double summon. You see what I mean? So this is what a real God card engine is, because it's the main purpose is to get these cards out, not to get other cards. Because keep in mind, in Rhyme's Dark Magician quote-unquote engine, if he lost his one singular God card, he's just playing Dark Magicians, which is why it's not really counted as an engine, right? Because an engine means if you lose a God card, can you get it back? Yes, I have many ways of getting my own God cards back, and usually doing with these monsters here, so that I can draw like the cards that allow me to special summon them back from the graveyard, or put cards in the graveyard like this one. So I have many ways of getting them out and putting them in the graveyard so that they're useful, while he didn't have a way to get them back out. And as you can see from your graveyard special summon, that's why I have Dark Spell Regeneration. So this is proof that this is an actual engine. But you can see the reason why it's called Time is because it also relies on Time Thief. If I do lose all of my Raws, I still have Time Thief Redoer and Time Thief Double Barrel as a backup. But notice those keywords, back up. It's not like the main source. Like if I lose Time Thief, I still have the main get goes. Like I'm not gonna be sweating if you got rid of my Time Thief. And that's the difference between a engine and a deck. An engine, you can lose the engine and it will still allow you to technically play the cards. It's just a little bit harder. While a deck means if you lose that card, like if you lose certain cards, then this is how it would go, you know. Like in Dark Magician deck, in his quote-unquote Dark Magician engine, if he lost his one singular, you know, Obelisk the Tormentor, now he has no way of getting it back, and he's just playing Dark Magicians until he loses or wins. So, and in no way is this viable, really. Like a Sword Soul, Flu, Sprites, Drytron, anything like that. Like even Cubics are folding this deck. Because, you know, like, especially if you can do inflicting damage or you can just negate my stuff. This heavily requires that you don't negate everything. So if you negate, yeah, I'm dead. But the point of a god decks are not to be, like, super OP. Because, I mean, great. Yeah, great. If you win, you win. Like, for example, like I said when I showed you guys, the fact that I'm in gold 5, right? I'm in gold 5. And with the Time of Raw deck, which you clearly saw there, I won. And just to be clear, let's see, the opponent was playing this kind of deck, which is the Nepta. He was playing a Nepta deck, and even had Nightmare Phoenix and stuff. And the fact that I survived and was able to actually fight him off is kind of crazy. And I know some of you probably won't believe me, so before we end this video, I might as well show you guys so you know that I'm not capping, I'm not lying, pretending like, oh yeah, I won a duel, and then it was like a Sword Soul deck. So for proof, there you go, there's Time Thief, there's Raw, right there. If this isn't enough proof to prove that it was this deck exactly, then here you go. You can see it's the exact deck list for my extra deck. The exact one, and this should be enough proof right here that I ran this card. And as you can see, I got the card that draws 2 in my hand. So he's starting to do this. His card wasn't that great. He might have bricked a little bit here. So you can see he's doing a bunch of, I don't even know what he's doing. This actually helps me because this helps Aqua monsters, which is this. So it gains 200 defense, which makes it 3,200. And I didn't get to get this card out yet, but yeah. As you can see, I'm going to go into Time Thief here. I'm going to draw Reactor Slime, put that card down, use this. Go ahead, get Redoer. So I can draw cards, so, you know, to get away. Use True Sun God, get the Guardian Slime, which is a card you always want to use. Now I'm going to draw from him. You know, get a monster card. Slow down his plays by getting monsters. He's going to start doing this. He's going to get like a 3k beach stick. Yep. Weaken me, but it doesn't matter because, as you know, I can leave it anytime. I realize the water helps me, but I also did it as a defense just so I don't have to use Guardian Slime. And boom, there you go. He tries to attack. I leave. Of course, he knows he can't get over this card right here. Goes ahead, ends his turn. It's my turn. I get my card back. I draw. So, yeah. You can clearly see, like... And I think you know what happens here. Boom. And I got this card. I draw from him, of course. Reactor Slime. And I think you guys know where this is going. Which is the good part. And, so, yeah. And after I get Raw out, of course, he kind of surrenders, so there's no point in just continuing. But yeah, literally, as you saw, I was over here in gold 5, and I won one match using this deck. I don't know how, and you can't say I'm bad at the game, because I do, like, I've made regular deck buildings before. As you can see, I've went all the way from doing your standard basic deck and some, recontract the universe type structure decks to fortune telling, which is my deck that I made, fortune telling, to doing some trash heroic decks. Went back to doing a little bit of structure decks for a bit. Then I made this Time Thief God deck. And by the way, if it says better or online, that means I got it from either. Better means I got it from fighting someone. Online is just when you do search here and you click public deck right there, and you get that one. As you can see, I've also made Silent Magician and Silent Swordsman decks. But then I eventually, caved Dead Zexal, and I've gone to Lady Labyrinth and Sword Soul decks. However, again, keep in mind the decks that I've made were kind of crazy, and this deck was honestly pretty cool. I mean, yeah, like I said, it's not meant to be like, OP decks, and it's not the best way, but it's just at least good enough to deal with other god cards, and it's considered a god card deck since it doesn't rely on other, like, my Xyz monsters and stuff, and I can just, if I felt like it, I can literally only just use the god card related stuff. So, and without my Xyz monsters, I can still get my god card. And I have many ways of getting my god card back, so that makes it a god card deck, because the main focus is the god cards, not Time Thief. But Time Thief is there, that's why I call it Time of Ra, because it's the Ra. And with that being said, sorry about that long tangent, but I did have to get that, out the way as my opinion, because I saw people being like, Obelisk doesn't really have too much, stuff behind it, when there's many ways to get Obelisk out. But, of course, you can use engines like I said, the Joker cards. And I don't mind Dark Magician, being a way to get a God card out, but you have to make it to where at least your God card is the main focus of the deck, not just like a subtle appearance. Like, the point of a God card deck is that if your God card dies, you're either confident because you get it back, or you're like, oh my god, I'm, and you're just angry. But the fact that he wasn't angry when he loses his God card just further proves that it's not a God card deck. So, yes, again, it's a year ago, I know, but I just wanted to make sure that was, like, just a thing that I said. I had to make sure that was a thing to be said, because some people just thought it was like, oh, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. So with that being said, I'll see you all in the next video.